Let's have a quick conversation about Audioboom. And so this is a review of this platform. The question is, do you have a better podcasting hosting elsewhere, or should you go with Audioboom? So let's talk about that. So here is the synopsis I want you to pay attention to. So the thing is that Audioboom is actually a hosting platform dedicated to hosting, distributing, and podcast advertising. So through Audioboom, you're not able to create a podcast, but you can actually host a podcast, you can distribute it, and you can also advertise it. So in terms of revenue strategy, you can consider Audioboom. When it comes to creation, you should actually look elsewhere. Though it is actually used to use. I mean, you can use the Audioboom for a lot of, I would say, a lot of activities, a lot of projects for your podcasting. Now, Audioboom used to have both a discovery and a podcast recording app, but those were actually discontinued a few years ago. But Audioboom actually works directly with advertisers. They have I'll speak about that later on. They have an ad marketplace, so you're able to connect with a roster of providers in different verticals. So this is really good. What we love about Audioboom is we love the flexibility here, and the website offers a tantalizing amount of information, enough to actually pick podcasters' interest, but not quite sufficient to give us a true understanding of what's on offer. So basically, we know this is a podcast hosting, distribution, and advertising platform. But what about the details? In other words, the platform is pitching itself at two quite different audiences. So you have small independent creators, but then you have established podcast networks. Those are really different audiences, if you were to ask us. And so it's one of those things where you got to constantly, you first need to ask Audioboom what they really are about. So before you sign up for anything, please call customer service to have a clear idea that their services are what you really need. So Audioboom is actually a podcast hosting, distribution, and advertising platform. They have 2 or 3 pricing plans depending upon the kind of setup you want to have, Podcasters or Podcast Pro. And key features include a customizable podcast page. You have private podcast. You have also an embeddable media player. And we think that Audioboom is best for a professional and branded podcast looking to monetize through advertising. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. So let's talk about the decision here. So basically, how should you review Audioboom before buying? If you're contemplating buying this software. Now, the thing is that you got to look at pricing, of course. You got to look at analytics, of course. You got to look at media player. You got to look at file hosting. You got to look at distribution. You got to look at their monetization features and whether or not those monetization features are in sync with what you are looking for. And also, in the end, you got to look at usability and additional features. So when we think about pricing, well, first of all, you got to think about not only the price, the amount they're charging you, but you have to look at the value for money, right? It's all about the ROI. Does the ROI become positive when you go with Audioboom, or does it become negative? Got to pay attention to that. And analytics are really important in terms of giving you some kind of sense about whether or not what you're working on is working. I mean, what you are working on is actually performing or not. In other words, your podcast is successful or not. Things that you need to change, things that you need to keep as they are. So that kind of analytics, that level of granularity, you want to make sure that Audioboom is offering it to you. So, I mean, of course, they're hosting your podcast. They are actually distributing your podcast. They're helping you sort of monetize your podcast. But how are they actually tracking your podcast performance? Or not just the podcast itself, the program itself, but every single episode, okay? And you also want to make sure that Audioboom has the media player that you want to have to kind of scale your podcast. In terms of distribution, you want to make sure that you have access to all the major listening platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcast. This is important. In terms of monetization, which is really the crux of the whole conversation here. If you're a podcaster and you are looking to convert your content into a source of income, you will need to search for Audioboom's ability to monetize directly through their ad marketplace, but also through third party conduits. This is really important to think about in terms of long-term scalability. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Audioboom. This is an Audioboom review. I want to talk to you about the pricing here. So when you think about Audioboom, I want you to think about two separate sort of clusters. You have the standard or plus account, and then you have a podcast pro account. So for the podcast pros account, this is what I was telling you earlier. This is actually great for established podcasters or independent networks with more than 50,000 downloads per month. And this market is totally different from the first one, standard or plus account. Now, when we talk about the standard or plus account, those two pricing tiers, they actually address individual podcasters with less than 50,000 downloads per month looking for professional tools to grow. Okay. And the thing is that when you think about the cost itself, if you were to ask how much does Audioboom really cost, well, again, it depends on the situation that you want to really put forward. If you are a podcaster, it starts at $9.99 per month. And this is aimed at individual creators that want an ad-free option. So here you have unlimited episodes per month, up to 10,000 plays per month on their standard plan. You have up to 25,000 with their plus plan, which is $19.99 per month or $199 per year. And so you have distribution to Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher. You have advanced analytics with breakdowns by app, device, and geographic region. You have embeddable player for website and social media integration. And so this is for the podcasters. What about podcast pros? So now here you have pricing on inquiry. This plan its features are only available to podcasts that have more than 50,000 plays per episode. You have unlimited episodes per month, unlimited plays per episodes. You have distribution to Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher. You have advanced analytics, breakdowns by app, device, and geographic region. You have embeddable player for websites and social media integration. You have live reads and host endorsements from all the top podcast advertisers. So that's really good in terms of scalability in the long run. You have sponsorships. You have access to Audioboom's targeted ad network. You have event and live show sponsorships. And you have instant monetization with targeted ad network and premium sales service. This is really good. We also love the fact that you have a mid-roll ad insertion tool that can really help you that can really help you optimize revenue over the long run. So we love that a lot. So this is really great in terms of Audioboom. Now, Audioboom is not free. Okay, you have to pay for it, and it is what it is. Let me give you a little review of Audioboom here. I want to look at the pros and cons, all the capabilities, and let's first look at the pros. You have social sharing, you have customizable podcast page, you have private podcasts, you have embeddable media player, you have advanced analytics, you have contributors, you have the ability to monetize. So this is really good. So when we talk about social sharing, you can set Audioboom to automatically share a link to your latest episode when you publish. All you need to do is connect your social media accounts, and Audioboom has an integration with Headliner to make it easy to promote and share your podcast on social media. So using Headliner, you can create short video clips that make perfect social assets and offer a taster of your latest podcast episode. Okay, and in terms of customizable podcast page, well, each podcaster gets a podcast page where all your podcast shows are listed. Your listeners can listen directly from their browser and discover information about your podcast. You can customize basic details such as your logo and descriptions from your Audioboom dashboard. You also have private podcasts. So Audioboom doesn't allow you to manage podcast subscriptions from within their platform. However, you are able to create private podcasts that are only accessible to people with whom you explicitly share the RSS feed. This is ideal for podcasters looking to create exclusive content for their paying subscribers through Patreon, for example. Okay, and you have embeddable media player, advanced analytics. We love the advanced analytics. This is just fantastic. So you also can monetize. Okay, now podcasters with over 10,000 plays per episode can access powerful advertising tools such as dynamic ad insertion, sponsorship, and branded content opportunities to sort of monetize the content a little further. Now, those are the pros of Audioboom. What about the cons here? Well, there is a lack of transparency in our view. There are no video podcasts. You have no free subscription plan, no creation capabilities. You have thresholds for access to podcast advertising, no podcast subscription, and you have automatic re-encoding of all audio files. And one thing I want to say here is that you got to ask yourself which one is important for you. Now, the thing is, there is no free subscription plan. So, although Audioboom's podcaster plan is only $9.99 a month, this still comes with some limitations and doesn't give subscribers access to their full range of features. So, podcasters on a tighter budget may be better off looking at Audioboom alternative than offer more bang for their buck. I will talk about the advantages of the alternatives later on. And there is no creation capability, though this is not really by any means a deal breaker in our view, nor is it a prerequisite for podcast hosting platforms. The ability to record, create, and edit your podcast within your podcast host is highly convenient and helps to streamline the process. Plus, many podcasters like to keep everything centralized, so if you're in the market for a one-stop shop, probably Audioboom is not what you're looking for because they don't have that capability as of right now. Let's talk about let's really look at the features that you can actually encounter if you go with Audioboom. Well, the thing is that you have Audioboom private podcast, so this is kind of cool. So private podcasts are a way to create podcasts that are only available to the people you choose to share with. It's really good. So these episodes don't automatically appear on your podcast page and have their own dedicated RSS feed. Bear in mind though that your Spotify listeners will not be able to access this private podcast directly because podcasts are not submitted to Spotify with RSS feeds. Okay, and you also have Audioboom Showcase. This is another area where you can actually you can differentiate yourself. So Showcase is Audioboom's dynamic ad insertion technology that helps to seamlessly execute ad campaigns without too much involvement from podcasters or even advertisers for that matter, okay? And podcasters can choose exactly what the mid-roll ad points fall in their content to avoid awkward transitions or interruptions. So if you enable pre-roll or post-roll, these are taken care of automatically. So this is kind of cool and we love that. So you have also, so when we think about Audioboom, we think about a tool that's great for podcasters who want to advertise. So Audioboom's basic plan aimed at independent podcasters is really, in our view, a robust offering and will definitely do the trick when it comes to hosting and distributing your podcast. However, without access to Audioboom's full range of features, smaller shows will probably see more value for money elsewhere. And it's one of those things where if you're a pro podcaster who's been looking to monetize through advertising and you're not that concerned with other functionalities, Audioboom is a great choice in our view. Let me talk to you about the specs here. So when we analyze Audioboom, what are the specs you need to really keep in mind? Now, first, when you look at the Audioboom dashboard, you have a sleek dashboard that has a great UX and great UI. So this is really good. And your Audioboom dashboard gives you a broad overview of your podcast show. You'll be able to see your all-time listens, total episodes, recent episodes, and all of your episodes, including drafts, scheduled episodes, deleted and published, okay? You also have the option to upload from there and switch between shows if you have more than one podcast. And so how do you get started with Audioboom? Well, you have to create your account, log into your dashboard and click the blue upload button. Pretty straightforward, nothing complicated. And you just drag and drop your audio file or upload manually. And you can fill out the details. We're speaking about title, description, and add cover art. And you want to select the destination, which listening platforms you want to publish to, and schedule to publish. You can schedule to publish or publish immediately. It really depends. Okay. And you can migrate your podcast to Audioboom, not a problem. So you want to import your podcast to Audioboom by copying and pasting your existing RSS feed. So when you activate your Audioboom account by paying for your subscription, your old episodes will be automatically imported. So ensure that you set up a 301 redirect. So if you're struggling, again, Audioboom can support you, not a problem. Simply submit a request and they'll take care of things for you. You also have the ability to distribute your podcast using Audioboom. This is really cool, really convenient, and we love the fact that Audioboom they are constantly expanding their partner sort of network with other third-party platforms. So Audioboom has partnered with the following listening platforms. So you have Apple Podcast, you have Castbox, you have Deezer, you have Google Podcast, iHeart, Player FM, Podcast Edit, you have Podchaser, you have Spotify, you have Radio Public, Stitcher, and TuneIn. And so Audioboom has actually dedicated instructions for submitting to each of the platforms listed earlier. And this is kind of cool. In terms of Audioboom podcast analytics, you also have a level of granularity here that you don't see elsewhere. So from your dashboard, if you navigate to the analytics page, you'll be able to see like listens, total episodes, top countries, top cities, for instance, devices that your audience are using to interact with your content, platform that they are tuning in from, the age, the gender, and so on and so forth. So what is our final say here? So is Audioboom really worth it? Is Audioboom safe? Is Audioboom, legit? The answer to all those questions, is yes, yes. Okay, Audioboom is safe, definitely, and they've been they've been in business for many years now, so they know what they're doing. And this is a company that we are highly recommending. Now, the only thing is that Audioboom remains, even though Audioboom is a high-powered platform for professional and business podcasters, you really want to call customer service first to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into. Its global advertising marketplace and dynamic ad insertion makes it very easy for podcasts with big audiences to capitalize on the value of the content and really connect with interested brands to secure advertising, partnership, or sponsorship deals. Okay. Now, for independent podcasters with a small listener base or who are just starting out, this may not be the smarter option. Okay. And so since the basic podcaster's plan doesn't include access to the full range of features, smaller podcasters may find that they are better catered to elsewhere. So it's one of those things where, again, you have to see what really works for you, okay? But you do have a range of features that can really help you scale your podcast. Think about the fact that you have advanced site analytics. You are able to distribute your podcast to iHeartRadio, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. Those are big distribution platforms, and this is kind of important. And you have the ability also, once your podcast listenership grows, you're able to tap into sponsorships. For instance, you're able to have a more economically advantageous dynamic ad insertion model. This is really cool in terms of helping you with your revenue model, and you also have multiple channel management. This is really good. What we love about Audioboom is that as you grow, you are able to tap into their revenue optimization model. So podcasters make money through sponsorship, advertisements, and sometimes live shows. Podcasts are more than what can be communicated through an internet connection, after all. And so Audioboom allows creators to optimize revenue with mid-roll ad insertion. And this is basically really cool in terms of helping you scale over time. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. Let's do a quick recap here. So in today's conversation, I gave you an Audioboom review. So I give you the synopsis, the decision, the pricing, the review, the features, the specs, and our final say. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.